Hey, welcome. This is Mr. Wheels podcast, and I'm Ryan Talley. Thank you for tuning in today. Do you have a special guest here, Daniel Cirilli, District 31 of Florida House. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? Cicirelli. Okay, I do apologize. But
It's
anyways,
Cicirelli.
today's a special interview regarding to obviously we know in
No
Florida
worries.
the primaries are over, but this is going to be more informational aspect of things for himself and for myself as well. So anyways, I want to introduce Daniel here. Welcome. Yeah, tell me a little bit about yourself real quick.
Thanks for having me. So I am born and raised in District 31, Cocoa, Florida, like 15 minutes from the beach. I was educated here. I've lived here my entire life. I tried to leave one time. I got as far as the next town over, which is in the same district and county, Merritt Island, and then ended up coming right back. My career has been a little bit all over the place. I went to school to be a teacher, and then that didn't work out because I wanted to have a family. And the head of the department sat me down with his pay stub and was like, "I'm a tenured professor, and I make $40,000 a year. So you need to do something else if you want to have a family." So then I went into construction, and I got swept into a engineering program. And in that engineering program, I was focused on fire alarm and life safety and mass evacuation, mass notification,
Oh,
and
okay.
ADA compliance for lots of structures and buildings. As far as the built environment is concerned, I actually have a background in ADA compliance and disability stuff
Oh,
with
nice.
emergency
Okay.
notification. That was something I was super heavily focused on. During COVID, I was the youngest consulting engineer in our office. So I was positioned to handle all of the hospitals and all of the nursing homes during the COVID pandemic. So anytime any one of those facilities had an issue with their life safety system or their fire alarm system, they would call me, and I would have to go and investigate the problem and figure out what it was going to take to fix it, which was a lot. I
Yeah,
got
according
COVID.
to the news, I have
I
it
think I
about
tested
seven
positive
times. Yeah.
7 times. And I think I had COVID more times than that, but it was, yeah, it was brutal. So I did that for COVID, and then I decided once that all kind of ended, I was working like crazy. I covered like 12 hospitals, Orange County Convention Center, NASA. It was too much. So I quit my job and I started working as a handyman. And so my area that I live in is predominantly senior citizens. About half the population is over 55
Mhm.
here. And a lot of those people are on fixed incomes, and quite a few more of them are disabled. I think it's about a third of the
So
population
pretty
of the
much
district that's kind of disabled that we live
the
with.
disability
And that was the first time I ever got really
topic is
acquainted.
pretty much on your mind, forefront of everything that you want to do. Yeah.
Yes, it is constantly on my mind. My roommate is deaf. My sister has some disabilities that she struggles with, some chronic pain and stuff. I mean, it's been a constant presence in my life and in my career.
Okay.
I'm
Awesome.
really passionate about it. Quite a few very good friends of mine are autistic or have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and the challenges that they face. I mean, as an able-bodied person who cares, I'm always involved helping them somehow because it's the right thing to do. But that's because the infrastructure that's been built by our communities and our state and our laws is not up to the task in many cases, and almost all of them.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would love to answer questions because this is something I'm very passionate about from a built environment, money, how money impacts people's lives perspective. I really care about that. I have a lot of experience with it. So, yeah, it's great to be here. When I got your email, I was like, oh, I really
Yeah.
want
Well,
to
I
come on
mean,
this
we're starting
podcast.
on
It'll be great.
small. It's a small thing. We're trying to get our name out there, trying to being an advocate. I don't know if you visited my website, so that's where all my information and about what the positions that we hold as a company. But again, I just want to say thank you for your time to be up on that Saturday afternoon. um,
Yeah, thank you for
yeah, no
accommodating
problem.
me with
Your platform says equal protections by the law from the law is not optional. It is the baseline. Um, how you relate that to the disability
Yes.
accessibility in Florida? As you know, in Florida, there's not much of accessibility because I'm wheelchair bound and I'm very limited as to I know Ybor, right? In Tampa, there's a place called Ybor. Yeah,
I'm sorry, Ybor.
it's a very
I don't think I've
Cuban
ever been there,
kind
but
of old style of Florida. There is very limited accessibility. The sidewalks are terrible, that kind of thing. And to how would you? I know it's out of your district, but if there's a town that you live by that has the same kind of thing, what would you do to make sure people like me to be able to get around?
so Cocoa Village is a historic village, right? So we have a lot of experience with a old place that was not ADA accessible or wheelchair accessible at all. That's had a lot of time and effort and thought put into it in the heart of my district to make it accessible. And a lot of the ways that they did that was, they moved water control underground. They made it so that the street and the sidewalks were all at the same level so that you can get in and out of the street easier and access businesses better. It was all these little tiny details. There's a lot of elevation change in the town, and so they made it so that instead of sidewalks having steps, they have slopes, that kind of thing. And it was not a difficult transition for them, and they had a board of people who sat down and figured out, how do we make this feel like an old town, look like an old town, and meet this building standards of an old town while being completely accessible. And they did that without major disruption to normal life there at all. I would
I've
encourage
been
you to
there
visit
when I was
Cocoa. I
younger in
feel
my
like you would really
20s.
like it if you ever get the chance. Uh, yeah, it's the last 10 years in Cocoa have been awesome because they created that historic revitalization fund and did great work. And that was partially funded by the state. And because they got state money, they had a lot of ADA qualifications that they had to meet. Now, as far as communities that don't have the money to do those changes or think it would ruin their community character, I think maybe building a panel of experts that can be called together to help and assist with the design process for that I know there's a lot of people that's their passion that are already involved in those projects. Just asking them for help would probably get that a long way. Having have a database of those people so that if somebody goes, I want to do a project that makes a town revitalized and we can do ADA compatibility, give them a list of people that they can call for resources. And then at the state level, we could probably, I feel like this wouldn't be that expensive because ADA compliance is really not that expensive, especially with the
I
increased
mean, we
business it
know
gives
that the
you.
population,
There's got
yeah.
to be a way you could make a fund that would go,
I
if
mean,
you're
on
willing
an
to bring up to
average,
these
the
standards, we'll give you some money
population
to
of
do it,
Florida is
that kind of
about, no,
thing.
not Florida, but the
Especially
United
with a
States, a
third of the
total of
state restricted some
30%
way.
of the population are disabled at some point. So, like a business is not making it ADA compliant, they're
Yes.
losing a lot of business. That kind of thing. And so, I just don't get, whole
Yes.
argument not having enough money to make it ADA compliant when they can get that money back, tenfold if they get more customers in the restaurants or small businesses.
And, you know, that's an angle that most people probably don't have an education around this, and they don't understand that like 30% of the population is disabled in some way. And so they go, well, I'm not going to spend 10 grand to build ramps to make my business ADA compliant. That's never going to pay for itself because they don't have a
Right.
facility that does
Right.
that. They get confirmation bias because they never see people who are disabled in their business. It's a catch 22. And basic education, like as a leader, it's my job to educate people and to just point out obvious things like that nobody's noticing. That's part of being a leader for everyone, is to just point out obvious stuff sometimes and lead the way and changing it. So yeah, that's absolutely, I mean, it could be as simple as we send out a mailer to businesses that are not
Mhm.
compliant and go, did
Yeah.
you know that if you do compliance, your business will increase by this
Yeah.
much year over year? You guys should consider investing this
Hmm.
money and just see if they do it.
Um, you
Um,
made a
that's a really
comment
good idea.
here, but you gave actually a warning regarding to what quote unquote disappearing hospital problem. A lot of them are closing, and the ambulance response is a lot longer. than before. For a wheelchair user, anyone that
Yes,
has a
yes.
complex medical needs in District 31, what could that be mean during like an emergency, like a hurricane or some other, um, unforeseen thing that could happen?
So in my district, just for full context, we have we've 3 hospitals that really serve the district. One is in the very far north of the district, and it's very hard to get there.
Hmm.
And the other 2 are in the process
Due
of
to
closing.
what?
One of them's
The
already in the
funding
process
for
of
the
being
state or
demoed.
what?
They're building a new one. They were very old buildings, and the money that would have come from the state to revitalize them was tied to Medicare expansion. And so when Ron DeSantis decided not to expand Medicare, those buildings didn't get the hundreds of millions of dollars they needed to revitalize. They both had foundation issues and mold issues. I was actually on the engineering study that closed both those hospitals. Issues, and they had a lot of life safety issues with their fire alarm systems, not to mention all of their other infrastructure was 30 to 50 years old. And so if that maintenance had been done on time and on schedule, the money had been given by the state to do the maintenance was allocated for that maintenance, wouldn't have been a problem. But expensive maintenance, they both had to close. And so they're building one hospital in the middle of town, in the middle of kind of everything. That's a third the size of the 2 that are closing.
Hmm.
So we're going to have a major shortage here. Now, as far as that impacts disabled people, any healthcare problem that impacts an
Hmm.
able-bodied person is just going to impact disabled people that much more. Because access that's more difficult it's a problem. As far as where they're building the new hospital, it's going to be on Merritt Island. So when a hurricane comes to this area, if we're going to get a direct hit, that hospital is going to
Not
have to
very
be
smart.
evacuated. It's in an evacuation zone. The hospital that was on the mainland that is currently being knocked down doesn't have a replacement. The company that bought it, they are building a freestanding emergency room a little further south, and then they're building another hospital about 25 minutes south of there that's supposed to replace it. But you're creating a 70-minute travel time for somebody in certain areas of the county in the meantime. And so the healthcare companies have, to their credit, acknowledged that this has been poorly planned, because this is all a bunch of for-profit healthcare companies that are all jockeying for hospital position around each other, and their decisions weren't synchronized, which created this gap. So they've tried to mitigate that by putting another transport helicopter in and building that freestanding emergency room and increasing the number of ambulances at the existing facilities that they have. But they took transit times, which were at like 40 minutes, depending on where you were in the county, and then they went up to 80 minutes, and now they're down to about 70 minutes. So they did a lot of work and haven't really made up the difference. And it's a huge problem. That's my number one thing, that if I had a genie wand, I would fix.
Would it be for profit? Would it be government or I forgot what it's called.
Honestly,
not for profit. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Not-for-profit hospital. We have a not-for-profit company called Parish in the area. Parish is pretty good. I'm friends with some of the people on the board there. I would love it if they ran a new hospital, but honestly, if it was for profit or nonprofit, or if it was a government, I don't care who runs it, as long as it gets built. And it's the needs that bad. I mean, our healthcare access right now is on par with like a normal area in rural North Dakota. It's some of the worst healthcare access in the country. So yeah, and considering my district has Kennedy Space Center in it, this is where the first spaceport is. You think we could do a little better, but anyway, I've beaten that horse to death.
Go into insurance here. The premiums. You said the right reforms could reduce insurance premiums as much as 60%, and renters and homeowners with disabilities are getting crushed by the rising costs. Using your handyman diagnosis and fix it type of thing that you have. What is your plan for repairing any insurance system that we have regarding to home insurance and so on?
Yes. So this is a little bit more of a technical answer for you, but I sat down with David Jolly who's the current candidate who just got nominated for governor on the Democratic side. And he has a proposal that I had not heard the nuts and bolts of, and it sounded like pie in the sky to me. And what you just read is the synopsis of that proposal, because I think it's amazing. His argument is that the infrastructure of our state, the insurance that certifies our homes and our businesses and our infrastructure is part of tourism, right? If our state can't be insured, then we can't make any tourism money. So therefore, we should expand our tourism spending, which is currently restricted to only be spent on certain things, to include certain burdens that are on the insurance market right now, namely flood and storm insurance. So he did the math, and if you divert 2% of that tourism tax revenue to a sovereign wealth fund, and use that sovereign wealth fund to remove storm and flood insurance from the market, that is just because the market's failed. There's only 4 insurers left in our state house insurance market. You remove that pressure from them, and that's going to make it so that new insurers can come into the market. Prices will drop by a massive amount, because those are the 2 categories that have driven the thousands of dollar per year increase over the last couple of years in home insurance rates. And I mean, that's every single person in Florida who owns a house getting a check for $4,000 or $5,000. That's the equivalent of what it is, because that's how much money you're going to save, right? And renters would save a percentage of that, I'm sure. Although I personally think that when the free market is failing, so say costs increase and then costs drop and prices stay high, somebody needs to hold those companies accountable to pricing in a way that isn't scalping. What the market will bear is one
That's
thing,
a good
but what's
quote. That's a
good
very
for our
good quote
society's
regarding to
continued
just because
existence
it's
is
a
another.
market approval doesn't mean
And
it's right.
yes. Yeah. And particularly when, and it's somebody who's thinking short-term gain for over long-term profit, and they'd rather have 50% of their units occupied at a high rate instead of 100% at a slightly lower rate. And that's not any way to run a business.
Education
really.
and youth justice. Since you were a teacher, on the track of being a teacher, how would school vouchers and policies, such as juvenile civil citations and the behavioral aspect of it, in affecting the disabled and marginalized young people in Brevard County schools? So the question comes from that: how can you balance between a for-profit private school to a public school? Do you support vouchers?
This is so complicated. The current way vouchers are done is wrong, right? We're taking money out of public schools for students that were never in those schools to begin with. That's not right. It's not fair. It's shortchanging all of the kids that are currently in the public schools massively. I know that my local school district saw I think it was a 23% drop in funding in the last year, and they lost 3% of their students because of the way vouchers have been changed. So no, the way vouchers are currently set up, I don't support them. Now, a voucher system where the state taxes everyone at a fair way to provide for education for children, I think that's a good idea. And giving parents the option to take that money and go to another school or homeschool is a good idea, if and only if the standards for public education, private education, and homeschool are the same. And right now, the book that governs rules on schools, it's about that thick. It's like 1,000 pages of regulations on public schools. The private school book is less than 100 pages, and the homeschool manual is like 30. Yeah. So yeah, we've got different money going around, and even if it was split up fairly, I would still have, even if it was split up fairly in a way that wasn't shortchanging students in public schools, I would still have a problem with the way it's currently structured because of those standards. I was homeschooled for my entire life up to college. And I got lucky that my parents actually like me, and they gave me some agency on where I got to go pick my tutors and stuff like that. We had the resources to give me a good education. But my mom got cancer while I was being homeschooled, and she beat it. Thank goodness, she's in full remission. But that was like a good 2 years where I didn't have a teacher. And I, just because of the kind of person I am, my friends are older than me, and I started to get mad because they were so much smarter than me. There was already a gap in education, and then there was an even bigger one because I wasn't educating myself. And so I went and signed myself up for classes with my mom's
No, it's
permission.
not.
But that's not the normal child in a homeschool situation. And yeah, and I know a lot of homeschool is, and I know this from experience. My brother-in-law's younger brother is autistic, and his mom, there is no school for him in our
Hmm.
community that can meet her standards, and so she homeschools him. And that allowance that they got from the state, that money is that's the difference between him having an education and not having an education. And because he wasn't getting one in the public system, and that
Yeah.
money going to him now allowed him to get something at home. So I don't ever want to say
Yeah, I
school
mean,
choice is a
I
bad
do
thing,
believe
because
that
more
school there
options
should
is
be a
always good
choice
for the
because
most part,
when
unless
I
you have
was
some
younger,
decision fatigue. But
I was going to go to a school that I want to go to, but because I am beyond like a 20-foot line, I couldn't go to that school. So I've been able to go to a school that was further away from where my school was. Because the school I want to go to is only about 2 miles away, while the one that I'm supposed to go to is 10 miles away. And so yeah, yeah.
because of the
So
way the
with
districts
that,
were drawn,
as a kid, my
okay.
mom had a fight and to go to the district and fought for it. And finally, we won, and I was able to get approved to go there. And so, I mean, I'm sure with your mom, she did the same thing. She advocated for you and that kind of thing. Even though your mother went through the period of cancer, but she still advocated for you. That's the main thing. Is the home is has to be stable for you to be where you're at
Yes.
now. um. Community politics and safety and local power. That's the next topic here. Regarding to, you founded the Space Coast Self Defense Club, and also protest medics. Why did you create that? I mean, from my reading, that you were very necessary to have because of recent protests or current protests that we've been having.
Yeah. So my political work
Right.
over the last 2 years has been very focused on protests in our local community. There's a group that I work with called Awake Brevard that when I went to their first protest, and so, okay, let me back up a little more. I have experience. I used to work for a combat simulation company. And so I would make their scenarios, and then I would kind of be the head guy on both teams, and I would play the different sides against each other so that they would get to go through a simulation that ran the way I wanted it to. And so that gave me a lot of experience putting, up to 1,000 people outside for a couple days at a time. How much food, how much water, what kind of facilities, what kind of access to parking, all of that. I know what it takes to put that many people in a space doing something. So I went to a protest, and I was very concerned about how it was organized, because the organizers, amazing people, I love them. They're some of my greatest mentors now. But they didn't have great shade. They didn't have, or there was some basic infrastructure they were lacking. So I approached them and went, "Hey, I would really like to support you guys. I want to start a medic group that provides these things. Can you endorse me?" And they were like, "Absolutely." So I grew that group to about 60 people. I found an ER doctor to run it. And those guys, when I say 60 people, I mean we have about 60 trained medics, and they're trained for everything from getting hit by a car to
Right.
gunshot to heat stroke. They don't do medicine, but they do trauma. I have a good friend of mine who's a Navy corpsman. I had him come in and train everybody a couple times. We had another lady who's former Navy surgery tech. She's technically a corpsman as well, who's trained us. Vance Aarons, she ran for office here for a while. She's great. But I did all that. I want people to feel safe. And at the same time, I was raised as a Republican, and I was raised around gun, and I've come a long way from how I used to be. And I do believe in some common sense gun reform and storage laws. And there's a lot
So
of
no,
things that
I'm going to
don't
jump on
restrict
that.
anybody's constitutional rights that are just
Do you believe
so
that you should
basic
hold
about safety.
parents
Yeah,
accountable
yeah.
for, like, God forbid, a child get a gun and did the unthinkable?
Yes. I'm someone who has a lot of guns. And if somebody got into my storage
Okay.
of weapons and used my guns to do something unthinkable, I'm responsible for that. They are mine. I own them. I am the one who stored them incorrectly. No, that's not I can hear Republicans getting mad right now, but I'm like, if I left my car keys sitting on my car's bumper and some kid jumped in my car
Right,
and ran
exactly.
somebody over, that's my fault. How is that any different? And it's this seems like common sense to me. And I'm not impinging anybody's right to own a weapon that they believe they need. And particularly right now, as the guy who
Mhm.
goes, maybe I do have to
Yeah,
have a weapon to fight
exactly.
the government someday. I don't want to give up my Second Amendment rights right now. And there are so many people who look at me and go, "You're the guy who's going to keep us safe," because I'm one of the able-bodied, armed, and equipped and educated people in that space that's on this side of the aisle. So because I'm that guy, I started that self-defense club. And really what that club did was I've trained about 200, 230 people in the basics of people who've never touched a gun before, how to shoot, if they want to buy anything, if they're willing to carry that
Mhm.
responsibility, right? Because it's a lot of responsibility to have a weapon that can kill somebody. And so help them think about it, help them process it. And I don't think most of those people have bought a gun. They decided that they didn't feel like they needed to do that. But they wanted the education. So
Um, I know, same here.
I gave it to them. My browser just gave me an IT
Uh,
problem.
not a lot. Yeah,
Uh,
refresh it.
you want to try and refresh the page and see what happens? All right.
Okay, let me remove this one here. Okay, there we go. Bring.
Are
There
we
we
good?
go. Oh, yeah, there we go. All
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
guys, let's go back. kind of start over if you don't mind.
Yeah. So I started that group, the self defense group, because I wanted people to feel safe. And there are a lot of people that I volunteer with who, because of the volunteering that we're doing, I mean, we had some guns pointed at us at a protest, and it was just like people driving by in their
Same
truck and
here.
they hold the gun up at the window and they push it
Hmm.
against the window. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to shoot that guy. That's crazy. That's not, I don't believe that they are actually going to do anything, but I can only make that call because I'm educated and I know what it looks like. And intent to
Hmm.
violence while driving is different than intent to violence on foot. And there's so much training that goes into that. So the class started as here's the very basics. Let's go to the range, pick up a gun for the first time, teach you how to use it, teach you how to think about it, how to store it, how to carry it. And it evolved into a full blown um, if we end up in a situation, specifically at protests, where somebody's armed, even though the official position of our protest group is that no one should be armed. So nobody's bringing long guns. It's not that kind of protest. But if
Hmm.
you want to bring your personal weapon, that's your constitutional right. We can't stop you.
Right,
So I
right.
went, if people are going to do that, I should provide training so that we don't end up with somebody getting shot that shouldn't be
Good
shot.
point.
And so it was really, it was a, what is it? Rules of engagement. That's the term I'm looking for. So if this happens, you're allowed to do this.
Right.
If that happens, you're allowed to do that. Um, and those have worked. We have had people come to our protests with long guns on foot, and we have managed to de-escalate that
Hmm.
situation and have them
Me too.
leave, and it wasn't a problem. And it's dramatic out there. But if we didn't have those
Mhm.
rules of engagement, I could easily see somebody would have been shot. And it's interesting
Right.
because that person
I'm
who
in
brought a long gun,
Tampa.
yeah, yeah,
We had a protest in Tampa, and we have an ICE um, office, and there's a lot of people in that area.
oh goodness,
And there
okay.
was a guy that drove by with a big Trump flag, and he brandished his weapon. What is going on? Okay, hold on. Let me read this here real quick.
Do
Um,
we want to chat with support or
what
something?
what computer do you have?
I have a Windows 10 computer. It's
When was
a
the last time
PC
you
I
updated?
built myself. When your browser under temporary list.
When was the last time you updated your browser?
Not that long ago. Okay, hang on. I am messing with my settings. If I
You figured if it's not compatible, it would tell you before it even got on. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
running
are
out
you
of
using are you
space.
using Chrome or are you using
Yeah, I'm using
yeah
Chrome.
Chrome? Okay, yeah, it's on mine. You
So
have
what does it
better
say on your
quality of
end?
camera now than you did before. You have a better quality now. It's
Weird.
weird.
So I just cleared my cache because that's what it says I need to do.
Okay.
I need that. I have that. I'm checking their I have all the right things. 5 GB of free. Aha! I think I found it.
Okay.
Spect elements. Oh, hey, the error went away. Is it working on your end?
Yeah, I'm fine on my end.
Huh. Okay. Well,
In
then
fact,
let's keep going.
your camera quality is a hell of a lot better than it was before.
Okay. Right. So, did I answer your question? Are we good?
Yeah,
Where are we?
yeah. I can edit out this whole area. It's not a
Okay.
problem doing that. Removing that part. Wonderful technology, right? All right. Let's see here. We were talking about your protesting. Okay, let's go back onto the home rule. He criticized Tallahassee for preventing local leaders from acting on issues as much as housing, worker safety. Well, obviously not elected as their state representative. How would you return a meaningful power to the Florida cities and counties regarding to the issues that the local leaders can either support or
Right.
not?
So, this is there isn't a specific issue I can point out and say, this is the thing that I'm going to do. This is a general philosophy of the decisions made physically closest to you are best for you, right? If I hand you $1,000, or if I hand your local government $1,000, or if I hand the state government $1,000, you're going to be best, local government's going to be better, and the state's going to be worse at spending that money to benefit you, right?
Correct.
So trying to keep money local is the most important thing that we can do. The way that looks right now in my campaign is I am tying my campaign directly to stopping Amendment 3 from passing. So
Okay.
Amendment 3 is the property tax reform that is designed in theory to provide relief to people who are living in a very high cost of living state, but in reality is just a giant way for Tallahassee to steal power from local governments by removing their ability to fund anything.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's so much nuance to that. If anybody's listening to this and you don't understand what's going on with Amendment 3, we could do an entire hour-long podcast just on that. Please do more research on it. Please vote no on Amendment 3. It is awful. I've told multiple people that I think Amendment 3 is an apocalypse waiting to happen, and it's
Yeah.
it's the wolf in sheep's clothing right now. So
Yeah,
that
I skimmed over it. I haven't really got into the meat of it, but I definitely want to read more about it as
yeah,
when the time comes in midterms.
it's basically the synopsis of it is it's going to greatly expand homestead exemptions, which on its face is good. I'm for supporting taxpayers who own homes so that they can continue to afford those homes. The threatening part is it has two other clauses. One is it's going to cap the rate of increase on taxes for non-homestead exempted properties. So that's going to go down significantly to the point where if you've got an empty field that gets a building built on it, they can't increase the taxes on that building, to represent its footprint on infrastructure and how it's impacting various city surfaces. So anything new is not going to be funded. We're not going to be able to support additional development. And there's also a provision in this bill, which this is the most important part. It requires the legislature, and since this is a modification to the state constitution, like once it passes, it's done. Like there's almost no way to get it out. It would require the state legislature to sunset every single kind of property tax, except for school taxes, but it encourages them to sunset school taxes as well. So property taxes are one of the only ways our state can actually get funding for anything, because we have so many restrictions on funding methods in our constitution, and they're basically removing one from all future applications. So the only way we will be able to do taxes to fund anything at the state level and the county level, which most counties can't do this, is sales tax. And so if you were going to have a sales tax to cover the budget shortfall that this is creating, it would need to be at about 20%, which is insane.
Yeah.
So I hope I win and Amendment 3 fails. It would be a trial if I win and Amendment 3 passes, because then I would be the guy who got left holding the bag for a huge mistake.
The person you're running against, what is his big, deal with him?
His claim to fame is that he is a school teacher who got a bunch of anti-trans legislation passed at the state level. That's his entire platform. And it's awful.
It's culture wars. I don't understand that.
Yes, it's culture war stuff.
I mean, even because I'm part of the LGBTQ community myself, and there's a lot of nuance with that, especially with that topic regarding to trans children. So there's a whole different topic on that part regarding to them to be involved with education. That'd be a whole different thing. But and kind of stemming off of that, what do you think about the politicians in America right now that is running specifically on culture wars instead of policy? Are they afraid of their own policy that they know that they will lose if they base it on that?
I think that if it came down to a fight over policy, which I've been to a couple of different forums where that has happened, where it's been policy questions, I've watched my opponent fail to answer basic policy questions. I've watched Republicans all the way up the ticket fail to answer basic policy questions because they don't really have a policy platform that's cohesive as a party. I've heard a lot of people say the Republican Party is falling apart because they don't have policies, and I disagree with that. Their unity around these culture war issues is so strong. I don't think they're going to fracture. Their party unity may be stronger than ours because of how bigoted they are about this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think the downfall for the Democratic Party and anybody on the left is always based on policy. About there's no emotional aspect of it. I think that's where the Democratic Party is lacking of being explainable and have compassion and have knowledge with it. And unfortunately, we have reactionary politics on the right, where the trans people are dancing out in the streets or stripping in front of children. I'm like, that's not the case at all.
This whole political moment started for me at an anti-ICE rally, and I sat down. I read almost all of federal immigration law. It's like 550 pages of law soup that is almost impossible to understand to give a speech. And at the end of reading that and writing my speech, the conclusion I came to was that they didn't have to change the law to do what they're doing. And that's not just on immigration. There's so many laws that they did not have to change to do what they're doing. And it's not a failure on the Republican side. They want this. It's a failure on the Democrat side, because we've had multiple instances on all types of issues where we've had control and we've had the ability to pass laws that would have protected people in any different area, and we failed to do it. And so I got up and gave a speech that's called out my own party for saying one thing, doing another. Our morals and values and actions don't align.
Right.
And that's agonizing to me. And the next day was somebody walked up to me in a Walmart and went, "When are you going to run for office, dude? You've got this figured out. Go talk to people." And I
Well,
went, "Huh?
I'm a, I guess the new term, I've always been this way as a Democratic socialist. I've always been that
Yeah,
way. I
yeah,
have the same viewpoints, and the only reason I vote Democrat is because the only party that's closely alignment, and I do what's called harm reduction. Which one
yes.
can be, um,
Who's going to be
less
less bad?"
exactly,
Yeah.
which is sad. This is kind of on the same topic, kind of going off the script here, but what do you think about? Would you advocate of ranked voting?
Like ranked choice voting,
Yeah, ranked choice. Yeah,
I think that's a no-brainer. It agonizes me because our constitution and our system is built in a way that's almost impossible to change. But anything
yeah,
that makes it so that people get a candidate they actually like instead of getting stuck with a candidate they kind of don't hate, we
and
need to just
that's
do
why
it.
there's a lot of candidates on the DSA side is being elected. So people are sick and tired of both parties. I'm
Yes,
excited about it. To be honest.
I am excited. So I'm a policy wonk. I've read the DSA platform very carefully to
Yeah,
try and
me too.
understand the national platform and the local platform. And I have some questions that I don't have answered. So I can't say that I full throated endorse the DSA, but the spirit
Yeah.
of the thing, we need changes that are good. We need to change the system that is not serving people so that it does serve people. I'm behind that 100%.
Well,
Um,
do you believe in updating the Constitution?
yes, asterisk. I'm afraid to do it right now because I think if we have a constitutional convention where we update the Constitution, that we're going to lose that fight.
Yeah, I
That it will
agree.
become a fight. I'm not sure there's a way to do that without gutting our country. If somebody could lay out a plan that would go, here's what we're going to do with our constitutional convention, and these are the goals that we have, and here's the direction we're going. I could get behind that, but right now I have not seen one that I'm enthused by.
Well,
Because
yeah,
if
I
you're going to
mean,
be a democracy and have a constitution, you got to
well,
represent everybody. And there's so many reactionaries right now. I don't want to open that door.
yeah, I agree, and I do a little bit about me. I do debates on TikTok, and this one was one of the topics. You would not believe the DMs that I got after that debate.
That doesn't surprise me.
I said, "Well, think about it. We need to update things, and I think the Constitution is one of them. But that's my opinion." Um, okay, the Olmstead Act, correct?
Homestead Act. Which Homestead Act?
Okay, it is a protection for the disability people regarding to I'll tell you this: Florida, Alaska, and Texas filed a lawsuit against the federal government regarding to either institutionalize disabled people who don't have family members that could help them, and because of it, they want to fund it within the institutional instead of choosing where I want to. Let first, and let me give you an example. Like if my parents are not around, and I'm on 100% on disability, 100% on Medicare, there's a potential that the state will put me in a state institution instead of choosing where I want to live in the community I want to live in.
Right.
So what's happening is that the federal government is not enforcing the Olmstead Act. Olmstead Act itself protects people like me. So there's potential that could be overturned, 100%. But now the federal government is not enforcing it.
That's crazy to me that where institutions haven't they been just rife with abuse, and they've always been incredibly problematic and
If you look at
dangerous, and
history back in the 70s and someone is mentally, physically, they've been attacked or have been, raped and killed by the institution that we have in the United States. And if they're arguing and saying that it'll be more cost effective, I call bullshit on that. Because if
cost
you
effective.
have someone that lives in their home and pay only for the uh, um what's it called? I got distracted. Anyways, of like it'll be more affordable if we can get someone to go to my home instead of
Right.
building
Home
the
care.
building, have 24-hour
Yeah.
staff at the hospital. What the fuck, man? We need to get out
I've
of that.
That's my background, is building nursing home facilities and running
Yeah,
them and helping people make budgets and manage their budgets. There's no way that it's cheaper.
yeah.
There's already infrastructure built around homes and home maintenance and home care and food delivery and just all of the things that support the economy for able-bodied people are better able to serve disabled people if you can live in your own house where you choose. That's This is the same argument people make about welfare. It's like, oh, well, we got to have work requirements and we got to have all these requirements to get specific things that people need. It's like, no, if you just literally hand them a check and say, go take care of your needs, that's the best return on investment for welfare spending for people
And
who need
nine
help.
times, I mean, we can't. I mean, there's going to be a fraud. There's always going to be a fraud. You cannot escape it. As long as human beings, it can be around.
If you
We're going to
look
find a
at
way to
the
mess around.
fraud in Medicare at any point in history, it's a rounding error. It's a statistical
Yeah.
rounding error. The people who need the help get it, and then when they don't need it anymore, they get off of it. Our culture is puritanical, right? We don't want to be on welfare. We don't want to accept help. Everybody who needs help has to go through a personal journey of trying to be okay with accepting help. You probably know this a lot better than I do. But to say that I have never been able to find any significant evidence of welfare fraud. And
Okay, but since now you know about the law,
be educated. Yeah.
since now you know about the Olmsted Act, there's a lawsuit with Florida testing in Alaska right now. I implore you to read into it because Florida needs to get out of the lawsuit. Because right now, people like me and the disability, my producer has the same disability as I do, and we're afraid. Because when her mom passes away and my parents pass away, am I going to have that right choice to live where I want to live, or am I going to be enforced by the government?
And this is kind of my argument for so much of my theory and my personal political theory is that the government should not be able to use its power to exclude people from public life. And that applies to disabled people or trans people or it applies to everybody, right? If you are getting excluded from public life by the government, something's wrong. That's a violation of your rights.
Mm-hmm.
And this seems so basic to me, and I'm so frustrated that there's even a lawsuit around this. It's like, of course you should be able to live where you want to live. That's the foundational freedom our country is based off of.
It tracks. If you look at every other regulation being rolled back in our current administration, it tracks. I'm not surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you've got I don't like to speak ill of people that I can't go personally fight, and I'm going for state level office. But when you've got a leader like you've got, of course, there's no surprises. My political journey started in December of 2024 for a reason, because I went, oh my God, this again. Yeah.
I mean, kind of segue into where I want to go next. For someone being as 28, as old as you are, for the working class, what is the major thing that you want to break down? What do you want to do to break down regarding to different policies that you wanted to do?
In the short term, it's the hospital focus, because like people here can't have kids because there's no OBs within a drivable distance. If you're old, you get sick, you can't go to care. It's too difficult to live in my district. Healthcare is the principal thing, in my opinion, that's making that difficult. I haven't been to the doctor in like 4.5 years. There's no doctor to go to. If I want to go to the doctor, I have to drive to Northwest Orlando. It's a 3-hour round trip. Yeah, it's crazy. And that's because I'm an able-bodied person with no pressing needs, so I don't get to go to the doctor. Because
you have the elderly people in your area. You figure there will be hospitals left and right.
Yes, yes, and it's a mess. So that's my number one fix. Is I want to fix that. My number two fix is the insurance policy, which is why it's on my website. We need to fix that so that the cost of housing starts to go down. We've got to change. And this is kind of a general philosophy. That policy is a specific example of when the free market is failing, And it's demonstrable that it's failing because no one can afford to live. The government has to step in to regulate that market. And I don't think that necessarily that market regulation should last forever. It should be a temporary finger on the scale to make it so that regular people can survive. And if we can't survive here, I mean, I've been to so many different interviews with industries and candidate endorsement groups, and every single one of them that starts with, in any way, shape, or form, people who employ people, their first question is, how are you going to get the labor force to stay here? Because every single one of them is hemorrhaging workers. And at the same time, I know 3 people off the top of my head who are within 100 feet of me right now who can't get a job. Mm-hmm. So go figure. But and that's part of the problem is maybe we should just ban fake job listings and then change some regulations, do some rent control, stabilize our economy so people can survive in the short term.
I mean, kind of what Mondani is doing in New York, kind of like Mondani in New York. Yeah.
Yes. He's got much more leeway than I will ever have as a representative in the House, as the governor of the largest city on earth.
I know, but I mean, I think that's what a lot of people found him appealing, because he's actually working. He's actually advocating for the lower middle class, solving problems,
real problems that affect real people.
And he's a true MAGA person. We make America great. He's actually putting American people first.
Yes. That's oh my! I never thought I would say this, but I guess I'm MAGA too. Because this is something that I bickered with, because I got invited to a forum where there were, before the primary, where there were 4 of my opponents on the stage with me. And they kind of collectively tried to make the argument that they did not have a responsibility to fight for funding in our district and take care of the people here if it disagreed with the elites running their party. That was a line that they took. And I had to bite my tongue as I answered, because I was so worked up by that. It's just like, are you crazy? They're electing us to lead them in the House of Representatives, and you're arguing that we shouldn't represent them and we shouldn't fight for them and we shouldn't be there when we're supposed to be. It's like, I've been a leader before in business and in hobbies and in all of these different places and protests, and when you are a leader, you have a responsibility to take care of the people that are underneath you. And more so when they're electing you individually by choice, right? When you're just some guy at a protest, you have that responsibility, but a lot of those people you're taking care of have no idea who you are. If those people voted for you, they've at least seen your name before, right? My goal is to represent my district. I want to be the most accessible representative at the state or federal level in the country. And that's probably going to look like me having my phone number on my website where anybody can just call me, and they will know that my phone will ring, and I might not answer, but I'm going to try and call them back. And that's daunting because there's 250,000 people in my district, and that'll be a public number. But I feel like that's what we have to do as leaders. We have to be accessible to the people with us. And if we're not, we can't do our jobs.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Because I tried to reach out to my people that are running for Republican offices here in Florida. None of them got back to me.
That doesn't surprise me.
As you see in my emails, these are the topics I'm going to be discussing. Then that's the only thing I can think of as to why they didn't get back to me. It's because of those topics. They are very uncomfortable to talk about. So
that's I haven't refused an invitation from anyone who has asked to talk to me, period, friendly or not, because it's my duty as a candidate to talk to those people. And I've watched my opponents, less so the guy who won the primary, but more so the other people who were in that race, be very picky and choosy about who they talk to and why, and put out statements justifying not talking to certain people. And I'm like, all these people you're justifying not talking to, they live in your district, they vote. What are you doing? So yeah, I don't get why they're not answering you. I would encourage you to keep sending them those emails, because just maybe you might get one.
I'm reaching out to Vern Buchanan. I'm reaching out to Vern Buchanan. He's in my district. I'm trying to reach out to him because I'm also involved with a lobbying group that is online. I don't want to give him the name yet, but I'm working with them. We're writing up legislation regarding to the the issues of the Homestead Act, and so we're trying to work and we're trying to lobby and up in Washington. We have a representative going to go down to Washington and write up this legislation. We have a couple of people that are supporting the work that we're doing. So we're building um, gap with the disability group. So I will email you about the group. I just don't want to say
Yeah, I was
on
about
my
to say,
yeah
keep me updated on your progress. I'd love to support you however I can.
yeah.
That's the right you're fighting for is one that seems like it's basic to me. So I want to
It's
join your
basic
fight.
to me. I don't understand that. I mean, how can that not be that kind of thing? It's kind of crazy. Okay, well, towards the end of right now, as my listeners are predominantly disability, LGBTQ and working class and so on, what can you tell my audience? What you're going to be doing? The 5 points you want to do. The five topics you want to attack.
So number one is my equality before the law comment. Fighting for equity is one thing, fighting for equality is another. Until we have established equality, we can't fight for equity. So my goal right now is to try and make it so that everything is equal. And that's by race, sex, gender, orientation, disability, ability, doesn't matter. We all need to be treated equally, including wealth. We all need to be treated equally before the law, and we need to have equal protection from it and equal protection by it. And if we don't have that, everything else is falling apart. In my district, if you're disabled, I want you to be able to go to the doctor. I want you to be able to afford a home. I want you to be able to get a good job. There are so many companies around here who hire people, and I know that they don't hire disabled people because a lot of them think that they can't do the work and they won't give people a shot and they won't create the accessibility that is required for that. I mean, this county has so many defense contractors that are guilty of this. And I know that because I know a lot of people who work for those contractors who have concealed their disabilities to do that work. And that's not a good way to live. So I would
Mhm.
like it so that we actually enforce the equal protection clauses in our ADA acts and in really making sure that the people who are responsible for enforcing our laws that are already on the books are actually doing it is something that's huge to me. And that said, holding those people accountable when they break the rules themselves, my area is very much a good old boys club. And
Mhm.
I'm branding myself
Yeah,
as I
your
say
area
this,
is
but
predominantly red, anyways. So
oh yeah, oh
you're
yeah.
fighting up, going up the stream on that one.
It's an uphill battle. And the good old boy mentality, if we protect our own and if we don't know you, we ain't helping you, that's got to stop.
Yeah.
Our nation and our state and our county and our local cities need to be places where anyone can live and anyone can thrive. And not because they know somebody, but because they're there and they're working and they're trying. And if our efforts, and I mean, I can't imagine it as an able bodied person who struggles constantly to make ends meet and is doing this as kind of a I don't want to say last ditch, but this is kind of my big jump to try and make the world better before I'm going to have to lock in completely on supporting my family, right? If I don't win this race, it's going to be no more politics. I got to lock in. I got to protect my parents and my sister and keep our family afloat. I'm the guy. I got to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that pressure, that struggle for me, I want to build a world where nobody has to feel that, where we know that if we fail, we're going to be okay. It'll be hard, but we'll be okay. Where we won't have to worry about our family falling off of a cliff, essentially, because we're not there to take care of them. Where our society is actually a society that we can all be members of and feel benefited by instead of just feel drained by. That's something I would love to work on. And that's
Number
just,
two.
yeah, I want people to be able to be happy and unafraid again.
Mm-hmm.
And fear is so powerful. And we see it controlling our Republican opponents. We see it controlling a lot of people's actions. I know I see it controlling people in my community who won't leave their house and get all their groceries delivered and they never go anywhere. And there's
Mm-hmm.
so much
Yeah.
fear.
I mean,
And
this kind of
yeah,
this our current administration, the people and also people that I interact online, feel me. This is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I would never thought 5 years ago, I would never thought I would have a platform of doing this type of thing.
Yes,
And
yes,
so every person that says no or made fun of me, because I've been made fun of because of the way I talk and that kind of growing up as a kid is that way. So I even get it being 50 years old. I get it here. But the thing is, I decided to, instead of taking the negative, I'm going to turn around and say, okay, I'm going to say, fuck you. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I don't care anymore. I'm going to
right.
be able to stand up for the community and talk to people who are not able to stand up for themselves. That's just, I figured, try to do it within the party. I love able bodied people, don't get me wrong, but I think the person that needs to do it has to be a part of that community.
Yes, I agree.
And I'm hoping to be that voice. So, anyways, again, I did want to say thank you, Daniel, for being here. It's been a really pleasure to speak with you, and I definitely want to keep in touch with you regarding of where you're
Yes,
going to be
absolutely.
going and
Please
so on.
do.
I'm gonna get if you don't mind, I can put your website and contact into in the bio, not my bio, but
Sure,
the
sure.
description part of it and everything, so they can
Yeah,
reach out
I'll
to
I'll
you.
say it right now. It's Cicirelliforflorida.com. If anybody feels like I'm awesome and you want to support me, I'd really appreciate it. If not, go have a read, see if you can find anything you like. And there's a contact form on there. If you think I need to work on something, let me know. All those emails go right to me. I read them all. Um,
Awesome.
Ryan, thank you so much for
Of
having me.
course.
It was a
I think my
pleasure.